Many of the brain's most impressive feats of abstract thinking are involved in the parietal. Probably the most impressive of these is the ability to comprehend and create metaphors. But the parietal also has its hands in directing spatio-visual attention towards salient features in the environment and is the location in the brain for visuospatial working memory and arithmetic fact retrieval. The parietal is also strongly associated with various types of social skills. An area called the inferior parietal lobule was found to be most involved in the perception of emotion in facial stimuli. This is consistent with earlier work identifying a parietal role in interpreting the intent of others. However, the ability of these techniques to fully localize these functions is not clear-cut. For example, while early investigations seem to identify the angular gyrus as responsible for creating metaphors, later investigations found that the angular gyrus was actually less involved and that metaphors were activating the somatosensory cortex in the parietal operculum. A similar shift has occurred in our understanding of Wernicke's area and its relationship to the formation of and its access/response to semantic linguistic expression. Generally speaking, the parietal role seems to be in distinguishing specific contextual details. The parietal's role is one of retrieving contextual details and organizing multisensory information stored throughout the brain, and likely also supports feelings of confidence in judgments about the accuracy of a memory. Further evidence for this pathway is found in the cingulum, which is a connection of white matter fibers, the neurological connecting wires that allow for communication between components of the limbic system, parietal, primary sensory, and the prefrontal cortex. Size differences in specific areas of the parietal have been correlated with improved performance for different skills and abilities. Perhaps the most famous example of this was discovered in Albert Einstein's brain. Einstein was missing much of a pronounced fold of tissue called the Sylvian fissure. So rather than the usual folds, Einstein had a surprisingly plump and smooth parietal operculum region, which is thought to be related to his tremendous spatial abilities. Presently, neuroimaging data investigating intelligence indicates that the parietal subareas contribute to the recognition of categories of things with emotionally salient imagery and elaborates visual input in much the same way that Wernicke's area organizes syntactical auditory input in a meaningful way. It is thought that information is then moved through the supramarginal, supraparietal, and angular gyri, where it is processed for structural symbolism, abstraction, and elaboration. Then these parietal regions interact with parts of the frontal lobe as a working memory network capable of holding different pieces of information in memory, allows information to be compared to different possible task responses. It may be that conscious metacognitive monitoring occurs between the frontal and parietal cortex as they exchange information to coordinate their activities. It's been found that this decision circuit between the frontal and parietal cortex is most active during free choice decision-making tasks. These are tasks that require a higher level of conscious metacognitive thinking.